Hey everyone, welcome to Jeremiah Dreams. I am so glad to be here with you guys tonight. I'm coming to you from hot and humid Huntsville, Alabama, and it is the kind of weather that it's just better to stay indoors. It's just incredibly humid, and in the South, I mean, I know it's hot in other parts of the country, but in the South, it when it gets like this, it's just what we call soupy. The air is just so thick, and it's just miserable. And I've been trying to get outside just for a few minutes each day just to do a little yard work, weeding and such. And I'm only out there for about 30 minutes. It's just awful. But as you hop on here, please say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. I'm always interested to know where you are. So tonight we are going to finish this cute project that we started last week. Can you see? We got about more than halfway through on it, but we're going to finish this up, make a few little tweaks, and I just love this project. So I'm going to go ahead and turn you down to my surface. Let me change my view, and we'll get going right away. Get my lighting adjusted just a little bit so we have a little better lighting. There we go. It's a little bit better there so you can see well. So please say hello if you're here with me. Okay, one of the first things after we finished last week, I noticed that I wanted to improve on was I feel like the hands are small. And so I'm going to increase the size of her hands. I just was kind of looking at it compared to the size of her head, and it just was too small. Now, I don't get very detailed on my hands. Um, but we're going to just improve this just a little, and hopefully this will give a better ratio of her head versus her hands, just kind of increasing that size. And I'm going to pull in, I'm going to start with some titanium white just because it's a really good color blocker. I love using the Master's Touch brand. We're going to get a little bit of that. We're going to be using quite a bit of titanium white. This Master's Touch brand is great for doing texture. It's thicker. It's a great color blocker, as I said. Um, it's you can thin it down, and it's just got a lot of versatility to it, and that's one of the things I love about it. But we're just going to start and just kind of put in a base for our improved hands because I just felt like the size needed to be a little bigger, and I don't want her to have too thick of hands. So we're going to kind of overdo it a little bit, and then we'll get really detailed. But for sure, we needed to block in with some white to kind of cover up that orange, and then we can always fix that. Hey, Rena and Tanya, thank you guys for being here. Thank y'all so much. I hope y'all are having a wonderful weekend. It is incredibly hot here in Huntsville, Alabama. I'm sure y'all are just roasting too. It's been a very unusual summer with the climate, very hot and humid, but wet. It's just been strange. So we're just going to kind of do a U shape to this hand as she's holding this pumpkin. And then we're going to dry this. Now, I was using my favorite tool, which is my Pilot friction pen. Let me see if I can, there it is. So you can kind of see, if you go to my Amazon store, I have these linked there, and I believe you'll find the store to my and the link to my Amazon store in the description. I'm pretty sure. I'll double check that afterwards. But let me know what's going on in your neck of the woods. I am now pulling in some natural buff color deco art that we're going to use for her skin tones, and then we'll pull in a little bit of brown just to give it some shadow, just a very soft brown. This is an old Anita's brand paint that I'm using. It's Woodsy Smoke if you have any of the Anita's colors. But I'm just going to start by putting in this natural buff. Now, hands are not something I'm super great at, so I just kind of keep it simple. That's my plan with hands is keep it simple and let our imagination fill in all the rest because I've tried to do hands, and it's just something that I'm just not good at. You got to admit where your strength and weaknesses are. And we're just keeping her hand very, very simple, more of a U shape here. And just going to let our mind's eye and imagination fill in all the rest. So I'm going to pull in some woodsy smoke now just to give a little bit of shadow along the bottom sections, like right through here, especially where her hand meets her sleeve. And this is just going to help add some believability and dimension to her as well. Where we get the woodsy smoke too thick, I'm just going to pull in a little more of this natural buff just to kind of blend into it to soften that tone a little bit. Just like so. There we go. And let's pull some woodsy smoke into this other hand. And we're really just going to keep it along the bottom section. And the thing about this angel and the way I've been doing my angels is I'd really try to keep them very simple. Let's put a little bit right in I'm pulling in a little bit of woodsy smoke right in the crease. See how we like that. We may take some orange and kind of shape that up a little bit. I think I will go ahead. I like to use terracotta for my pumpkins. So I'm just going to pull in a little bit of terracotta just to kind of shape up that what we call negative space in art is the space around your subject. So like this is her hand. So I want to kind of almost carve away part of that and make them a little more dainty. And as we continue on, I'm going to be adding in some other details for our pumpkin. So chances are this is going to be hidden anyway. So I'm not super concerned just how perfect and detailed this is. Let me kind of add just a little more. It's going to be fine. You guys, I am not about perfection. I try to get it as close as I can get it, and then it just is what it is. You know, it's something that you just got to continually work at and grow toward. Y'all hear my little Baxter over here scratching, making his little nest to settle in for a nap while I paint. Okay, we'll probably have some vine or leaves there. So while that's drying, let's go ahead. We're going to work on the texture for our other wing. We need to get that laid in. So to do this, I'm going to go ahead and turn it around because I kind of do this upside down. I like to start at the bottom of the wing and work my way up. And we are going to use some antique copper, excuse me, metallic. And we're going to do a ombre effect from the bottom of the wing up until the white part, just like we did on the other side. So we're going to start first with the pure antique copper. This bottle is almost empty, but I picked up a new bottle. And I'm just going to use a round brush. Which one do I want to use? I think I'm going to go with this one. I'm not sure. This is a size 10-0 round brush. And we just need to lay in those shapes. We're going to just fill up our brush with some copper and we're just going to press and lift. Now we've loaded quite a bit on here. And we're going to do a few rows like this. I'll tell you what we're going to have to do. I'd forgotten I did this step. We're going to have to use some titanium white first. Oops, I've already got some. Well, I need more. We're going to have to lay this in first and then overlay it with our color because we've got to have that texture, and the regular paint is just not thick enough. It's much thinner. So we're going to go ahead and start, and we're even going to go ahead and cover this up. It'll be fine. We'll get it all straightened away after we get it laid in. So I'm just kind of really filling up my brush and pressing down and lifting. And I'm really putting it in heavy right here since I kind of messed up and laid in the copper first. We'll come back. It's one of those things, I forgot that I did it this way last week and it worked great. So we're just going to fill in the entire thing with the titanium white, going back in and trying to shape a little bit. And we're just really filling up our brush and just kind of laying it in, and it's just press and lift to get that shape. Now right through here along this edge is a little tricky because you've got to be careful about that edge. I'm just kind of pushing it on out, and then I'm going to reshape that a little bit. Just laying in the texture for these wings. And I like using the white versus another color because it just kind of sets a good foundation for these other colors to really shine. And you don't have to worry about perfection with this either. We're just going for texture, almost like meringue on a pie. You're looking for those peaks and valleys just so that you get that shape. Hi, Christy. Thank you for sharing, my friend. So good to see you. I appreciate you being here. I hope everyone is having a great weekend. In fact, I've got another live to do right after this. It'll be over on Facebook. The Patchwork of Friendship project that I'm participating in this year is right at 7 o'clock, right after this live. So it's a busy evening, and I love it. I love creating. I have been in my studio all afternoon. My fourth grandchild, my daughter's third baby, is very close to being here. Um, Technically, it could be any day. We're anticipating a couple more weeks, but in the process, I'm trying to get big sister shirts embroidered for my granddaughters for their little brother. And my youngest granddaughter is finally going to be a big sister. So I've already made his little brother onesie. And so I'm working on their big sister, biggest sister shirts, and they're turning out really cute. I'll be putting some pictures and doing a little short on that here soon too. We're super excited. My daughter is so ready. Bless her heart. Here it is so hot, and she's very pregnant, and it's just she's ready. She's ready for him to be here. So this is a little tedious. I want to encourage those of y'all that create to just don't be worried about how slow you are. If you get in too big a hurry, you're not going to be as defined. I've learned the hard way. There's times that my brain wants to race ahead. I really have to slow my brain down. And it's a it's kind of a journey in learning how to slow down, y'all. We just live in such a hurried world, don't we? Just trying to make ourselves enjoy the process. But we'll get this all filled in before long. I think it's important to know what to expect should you try to do a project like this. I'm just going back and touching up some of these little peaks and valleys just to get a little better. And I'm going to be very gentle right through here where we have to kind of come in next to the hair. I want some texture, but we got to be careful leading up to that collar. And you might ask, why did we not do the wings before the hair, since the wings are kind of behind the hair? And really, the reason is, for me, it seemed that the texture of the wings would mess up the hair. I wanted her hair to be smooth and not have the effect of texture on the sides of her face. So that's why I did not do the wings like that. Sometimes it's strategy. You got to think through the placement of things and how they interact with each other. Like the smoothness of the hair is the look we want versus the texture of the wings right beside and behind. So you have to take all those things into account. But this is not hard. This is not hard. It just takes some patience. And it's literally press and lift. Press and lift. So if you're interested, I have a whole series of angels in my Etsy shop. You'll have to check it out. The link is in the description. I really think I'm going to offer this in my Etsy shop and offer these as a few. So that will probably hit the shop this week. We'll try to get that set up. A few steps that have to be done to get that listed, but I think it would be a really nice gift, especially if you want to gift somebody's got a fall birthday, and um, it'll be a sweet little piece of decor in your fall furnishings. I'm ready for fall. I don't know about y'all, but I'm just kind of over the heat. Ready for things to cool down a little bit. Look at those peaks and valleys. Doesn't that look nice? And then we're going to color them up with an ombre effect. We're about to get there, friends. I would be interested to know if y'all have started decorating for fall, or are you in the mood for fall yet? I know when it's so hot, it's hard to get there, but yet you're ready for it. It's kind of a weird situation. You're just so over the heat. I was talking with someone this week that's from the north, and they are having heat for sure, but it's just different in that part of the country than what we experience here in the south. Here in the south, it's like, why do we wear makeup? It really doesn't. It doesn't last. We put it on, walk outside, and it melts off. We just sweat it off immediately. But right now, the only time I'm really wearing makeup is when I go to church on Sunday because it is so hot. You have to get just a little more paint, which we're going to be using some titanium white to help us with our ombre effect. You're ready for fall? Oh, it is brutal, girl. Yes, it sure is. I feel like, too, that the humidity really has an effect on even things such as this paint. Um, I can tell it just doesn't take much for it to feel thin. All right, I'm gonna just shape some through here a little bit more. Really trying to enhance that texture. And I like seeing it kind of come off the top edge a little bit. All right, there, we've got that. So now we can go back. We're going to be very gentle because ideally you're going to want this to dry before you start adding your color. But in the interest of time, we're not going to do that. Let me get my brush clean. So I'm just going to be very gentle. I'm going to turn this more sideways as we work through this. I'm using antique copper metallic paint, and we're just going to gently add this in. Well, actually, we may need to come back to it because it is really needing to dry a little bit. We'll see how it does and then decide. I'm really loading up my brush. We're going to be blending the antique copper with some rose gold to get a nice in-between color. And then we'll move into the rose gold and then blend the rose gold with titanium white to get a softer shade. You just gotta kind of feel your way through this to get that. And then I'll probably, after it dries well, and when you do paint like this with the texture, it really needs to set up. It needs to dry, and not only dry to the surface, but also it needs to cure and really dry hard. This over here that we did last week, it's dried really well. You know, you can touch it, it doesn't affect it. It's perfect. But it definitely needs to set. And it probably needs a good 24 hours to really dry that well. I'm getting a little more antique copper on my palette. And we're going to blend in some rose gold. And I'm going to show you. Ooh, I have a little air bubble there. Okay. So here's it's folk art. The copper I was using is folk art. The rose gold is folk art. It's a metallic as well. I'm going to pour a little on my palette here and I'll show you how we're going to mix. So I have not cleaned my brush, okay? And so I'm just going to pull over some copper, offload a little bit, and let's just pull over some rose gold. And we're just going to get a nice in-between tone. I want it lighter than the copper, but darker than the rose gold. Somewhere in here, I'm just trying to get it to mix well. Somewhere about like that right there. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to gently lay this in very thick so we get a nice in-between color. I'm going to have to mix some more because we are laying it in so thick. It kind of makes the rose gold a little more brown. This copper does. And I think the humidity outside is really having an effect on this paint because a lot of times these lights will make it dry fast or faster, but there's so much humidity going on, y'all. It's going to have to really set up. You remember? Oh, whew, I bet it is bad there. I bet it is, Rena. How have you been doing, my sweet friend? I see Miss Tanya every week. She is in my private group. I have a private group where I teach art projects, and I get to see her and visit with her every week. If you're interested in my private group, send me a message or put something in the comments here, and I'll be glad to give you some information. We have the best time creating some really neat projects. We're about ready to just go with pure rose gold because we're not doing a bunch in this color. Just really kind of trying to use up what I've mixed and trying to kind of match what I've done on the other side with the wings. Okay. I'll clean my brush really well. Oh, DBS, I bet you are beat. Ours was earlier in the summer in June, and it was a great time had by all. Okay, let's lay in the pure rose gold now. I'm going to turn my palette a little bit. We're just kind of being very gentle because this paint is just not dry at all. But we've got the groundwork, the foundation for it set in with that titanium white, which allows this color to have texture. A little bit up in the hair. There's a lot of different ways to add texture to your paint. This is just one way. It has suited the effects that I've looked for. It has worked well for me, but you can do a lot of different things. You can add spackling compound. Um, I've heard of baking soda being added. It's something that I think you have to experiment with and see what works for you for your project. I think it's going to depend on your project. So ideally, I would let all the white dry before I come back in and color the texture. But for the purposes of this video, I wanted to go ahead and do it so that you could kind of see the ombre effect that we're going for. The ones that I'll be doing that'll be in the shop, they will be dried and finished and really beautifully tinted in the ombre. And I'll get that created and posted for the shop. Just going to add a little more. Just looks more swirly than what it was doing last week, and I do think it has to do with the humidity in our area right now. And I think too, it was an adjustment for me to get used to using such a large volume of paint on a project to get this textured effect. It was kind of an adjustment for me. So I'm just kind of almost sculpting these peaks and valleys. All right, so now I'm going to take some of the rose gold and mix it with my titanium white. Just going to scoop it up from over here because we want a lighter version of the rose gold. And I'm just trying to scoop it up with my brush. I'm just going to mix it in. Almost kind of giving us a blush pink color. Now we'll start laying that in. Can you see the varied tones, the differences? Is that coming through on the screen for you? I'm just kind of digging in some of the paint here. And you know, it probably as it begins to dry can come back in before it dries completely and restructure, re-sculpt some of the feathers. I'd love to know if any of you have tried doing paint super thick like this, where you're just kind of sculpting with it. It's also called impasto, excuse me, painting. And I love it. It's just such a neat effect. And then we're not going to go much further because we want to end in the white at the top of the wings. Kind of like that right there. Okay, let me turn it back around. So that will set up. We'll let this get nice and dry, and then I'll come back and do touch-ups. It's all it's really going to need. The next thing I want to do is we're going to work on her crown. And I'm going to use some liquid gold leaf right here. Got it at Hobby Lobby. This is classic gold. Love this stuff. Love it. And y'all, I don't I don't pour it out onto my palette. I just shake up my bottle and I kind of use what's in the lid. Get my brush clean real quick. There we go. All right, so what I'm going to use is a pretty small round brush. I really want to be detailed on this. And I'm going to start with just the base of the crown, and I want it to be coming right along the top of her hair and just kind of come over to the other side. And I'm going to kind of widen the band. And then we're going to just keep it simple. I like to do just a simple shape. Just going to make a U and a little smaller U, upside down U, I should say. Keep it simple. And then we're going to put a dot in the middle. And then I like to come back and just dot along the outside. And it makes it have the effect of the jewels that are likely in the crown. And then I'm going to come down along the bottom. We're just going to do a few more little jewels. Now, another thing I like to do, especially like on the band, is after this dries, I'll come back with some white, titanium white, and just add some dots to give the effect of additional like pearls in the crown. Kind of like so. Keeping it very simple. Now, one of the things I want to do is add some shimmer to her gown. And I'll show you. This is Master's Touch Pearlized White. And it gives such a nice effect for some shimmer. I'm going to put this on before we start adding any kind of vine or leaves to our, looking for my flat brush, to our pumpkin. I'm just going to get a little bit on my brush. I'm just going to gently add it. And it's amazing. This doesn't dry solid. It's a little transparent and it's perfect just for adding that nice shimmer. I want to be really careful along the edges of this wet paint. So I want to also be careful right along the pumpkin and her hands. The thing about this shimmer, this pearlized white, is that glitter that's in it. It's hard to get off. If you get over a little bit, I have had that happen, and it's not very forgiving. So you want to be really careful and intentional with your strokes. Let me turn this a little bit. So I can get to this side. I have a lot on my brush. I'm just kind of spreading it out. I'm just being very gentle around the non-white areas. I'm going to come up in between just a little, being super gentle, super careful. And like I said, this paint is a little transparent. So like we've got this shadow work here, and that will still peek through. It's not covering it up. So it's perfect. Go around this stem. Okay. Put the lid back on. And then I'll hold this up so you can see kind of the shimmer effect. Just look how that gives it that shimmer. Hopefully you can see that in the lighting. Makes it super pretty. All right. I want to add in, we probably need to dry this just a little. Let me just hit it with some air here, some heat, and get, because we're going to add some vine and leaves for our pumpkin, and really then she's about done. I'll probably check on this other paint and sculpt out some of these feathers a little more after it kind of dries a little bit. It's just so wet and saturated. Okay, so next, pull my palette back over here. We're going to add some character to our pumpkin. Let's see, what do I want to do? I'm thinking this through. I'm going to use, this is a light green by Master's Touch. We're going to start with this, and I'm going to use a script brush because that'll give us some nice flow for some curlies for our pumpkin. Hold on a second, just getting my brushes clean real quick. I like to clean as I go. And so this is the script brush that I'm going to use. I don't even know what size it is. Size 2, right there. So we're going to use this to help with our vines. This is a kind of a bright green, and that's what I want. Just kind of thinning out my, I'm going to use this flat brush. We're going to thin out our green just a little so it will flow even better. Like I said, that's the nice thing about the versatility of Master's Touch is you can keep it thick or you can thin it down and really get a nice flow. Load up my brush and twirl it for a nice point. And so let's just kind of add in curlies and just let them kind of be pretty. I have to turn it a little bit. We're not going to do a bunch, but we need a little bit. And let's go ahead and have one kind of coming down this way. We're going to keep it at 3. And let's thicken this one up a little bit. And let's add a little more here. There we go. And let's go ahead. We're going to get our detail brush. We're going to add some leaves. I'm going to use a pretty small brush just to help us get some nice detail, especially we're going to keep our leaves pretty simple too. And we'll probably come back and add a little detail. Just putting a little bit of a stem on those leaves just to help them stand off of that vine a little. I'm going to put some right up here next to our pumpkin. What do y'all think? How do you like this? How do you like it, the angel with the pumpkin? And what other fall scenes do you think would be cute to see for one of these angels? You know, this one holding the pumpkin. What else do you think? I have really enjoyed creating the angels in a lot of different ways. Okay. And then we're going to pull in just a, oh, thank you, Christy and Rena. Thank you, ladies. We're going to pull in some light olive just to give a little variance to our leaves and help give some highlight. I guess it's a good way to, I can't get my lid to go back on. Come on. Go. Get it in the threads. Now you need a little bit of white as well. Just give it a little pop. So I'd love to know what kind of fall projects interest you. If you were to give another um, scene for one of our sweet angels, what would it be? What would you like to see the angel doing? How do you, what's your favorite thing to decorate for fall? Do you like using like corn stalks? And we always used to do those pretty corn stalks shaped like teepees when I was growing up. That was so fun. So we're just adding some highlight to our leaves, just helping them pop a little bit, especially these that are on the pumpkin. And y'all, she is just about finished. So we'll be making her available in the Etsy shop this week. So you want to be sure and check it out. Be sure to give a like to my Etsy shop. So Etsy shop, couldn't say that fast, so that you'll know when new things are added. And check them out. It's about that time to start doing some Christmas shopping, isn't it? All right, sweet friends. There she is. I can't wait till she's nice and dry and get some beautiful pictures of her. But I certainly hope you enjoyed this project. I certainly did. And we'll come back next Sunday night with something new. Let me just come back over here and get my light out of the way and just say thank you. I appreciate you joining me. I have so enjoyed this project and I hope it has inspired you. And if it has and you create something, let me know. I would love to see it. Thank you for being with me. I look forward to being with you next week. Have a great week, everyone. Talk to you soon.